Hello, people in the future. Um, I knew what call it was, but now I don't. So
Think it's
welcome.
12,
I think it's 12.
I
I
think,
think so.
ish.
I'm still Leela.
I'm still Naomi.
And so, how were your asking adventures of this past week? Were there any adventures?
I got to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, do
That
tell.
was fun. I I flew off the handle at someone, and what wants to come out is I had to apologize. I didn't have to apologize, but it would be a jackass thing to do to not apologize. So I had to apologize. Because it's a relationship where it's like, okay, don't be a jackass here. And I apologized to them. They were thankful I did, had, asked for forgiveness and followed it up with acknowledging them. It's kind of like, okay, little scenario. 100 years ago, when I was living with my, at the time, boyfriend, he rarely did laundry, and I lost my shit about it one day. So he finally started doing laundry. Because I was going to it's like, fine, then I'm 2 laundry baskets. I'm doing my own, you do your own, because I'm done with this bullshit. But so he started doing laundry. Well, like some people who aren't used to it, wasn't reading clothing labels and washed one of my dry clean only skirts. Yeah, that look on your face. One of my really expensive dry clean only skirts. And so the lining of the skirt, because this was, back in the 90s when lined skirts were kind of a thing. The lining was about 1.5 inches longer than the skirt. It was a nice tailored skirt. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I can't bitch about this. I can't bitch about this. Because I've been bitching at him for not doing the laundry. Okay. So it's like, it's sort of that what worked, what didn't work, and what do we need to do differently going forward. But I couldn't yell at him because he did the laundry. And you can't set up a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario for people. It's just unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I realized that having, blowing up at this person, that's what I was doing. And it was like, oh, fuck. All right. So I had to apologize, ask for forgiveness, and then thank them for what they were doing. And now let's set up what's workable in the future. So.
Look at you being all amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't like it. I wanted to just blow up and keep ranting. I'll be honest. It was like, what the? And I had to put myself in their shoes. How would it feel? Well, it would suck.
Yeah.
It would suck. So stop it. Well, fuck. And I did feel better after making the apology, after acknowledging what they were doing that was beautiful and brilliant, and thanking them for that.
That's super grown up of you.
Yeah. It doesn't feel grown up, probably because it still irritates me. But
that's hilarious.
But I get to choose if I hold on to it or if I let it go.
Yeah, there's that.
So I just got to get my crew working on some other things so that it just doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And it shows me it's a good lesson. So bottom line, what it is my beautiful half side misquoted a package to someone. And so this individual is paying less than half of our normal rates. And it kind of makes my eye twitch a little bit. But I have to honor it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's just okay.
Yeah.
So it also helps me to see, okay, there are certain, because it's like, I don't want to manage all of the pieces. So, okay, great. So he's going to start managing them. But then when he manages them, if he misquotes and that scenario wasn't great, I can't, no, I can't have it both ways. I want you
Right.
to manage this, but then I'm mad at you for managing it. No, what? That's bitchy. So it just helped me to see where, okay, there are certain things we need to put in place system wise, so that when he has a conversation with someone who wants to do the work, he can easily reference something and pop that over to them with the rates, so there's no question. Because bottom line is, what he did is he took what we had a special in June.
Mm-hmm.
It was for 3 sessions, and he applied that price to a 4-month package. Yes, that look on your face. So if we had a document that he could just grab the document and pop over, it wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, there's responsibility on both our sides for this.
Yeah.
So if I'm mad at him, I get to be mad at myself. So
Okay.
ask, what do we need to do differently in the future? That's a big ask. So
A fun ask.
yeah. So yeah, there was some adulting in my asking. Another foray into asking, often when I'm running a workshop, if people show that they're interested in Facebook, on the event, but don't respond and don't actually register, a lot of times I just kind of am like, people put interested, so, it kind of stays on their radar, whether they're coming or not. But this time I reached out and I was like, hey, saw you had expressed an interest in coming. We want to make sure we have materials for everyone. Can't wait to see you there. Will you be joining us? And granted, that's a business ask. And to me, that's just should probably be part of the business, but hasn't always been.
Yeah.
So, that was an ask. I got a lot of, meant to let you know. So that's fine. At least I knew then.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an ask. I keep asking my crew, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. I love that. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, there are people on my sidewalk who don't live in my building. I hope they don't knock on my door.
You're busy.
Hold that thought.
You're busy. It's too bad I don't lip read. That's awesome. So while we're waiting for Leela, asking, what do you do when you have to ask for forgiveness? Do you gloss over it? Do you actually fess up? Do you sweep it under the rug? Do you skirt around it and hope they get it? How do you ask for forgiveness? How do you ask? How do you say, I'm sorry? I think for a lot of us, it's been my experience in working with people anyway, that for many people, that can be a difficult thing to ask for, is that forgiveness. Because we have to face the fact that we effed up, or that we may have hurt someone's feelings, or that we acted like a jackass like I did.
And then when you ask when you feel compelled to ask for forgiveness, but you feel like you were right, but you know that like I can be right or I can be happy. You're like, I have no problems apologizing to my children, but when I feel like I'm right, but I can see that like I'm not apologizing for parenting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm apologizing for like a difference of opinion. I do this rare thing, y'all watching in the future, where I treat my children like they're actual humans instead of like acquisitions. Or I don't know what, chattel. Um,
Objet d'art.
and so sometimes we differ in opinion, and sometimes it can be a bully. And then I get to go, oh, so I apologize for behaving that way. And how can we do this differently in the future? And I did that
Can I be
recently.
okay with their opinion?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't match mine. That's true for kids or adults. I think we see that a lot on social media right now.
Being okay with other people's opinions who don't match yours.
Yeah. And not being a bully
Oh,
or apologizing if you are. Every now and again, it creeps up in social media, I find.
I avoid those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I avoid political conversation. I think we talked about this after the call last week.
Yeah.
I avoid all of those things.
Yeah.
Political and racial conversations.
Yeah.
And
Political.
racial will always have air quotes with me, y'all.
Yeah. Political, racial, often religious conversations as well.
Yes, those two.
Yeah. There's a number of conversations I've avoided. There's even been people who it's like, sorry, you've got to leave my page.
Yeah.
Your stuff will never show up on my timeline again. I'm sorry. So yeah. But in person, in real life person, when we have a differing opinion, that's kind of along the lines of that attached to the outcome piece.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Right?
It's really interesting. I'm looking at all of the different spaces where that is a thing. I think the honey and I do it really well, but I also think there hasn't been anything that's like been really important to either one of us yet. So I'm waiting to see how we handle one of those kinds of experiences.
Can you say a little more about that? Because that was a little bit out here on the periphery.
Um,
You handle that pretty well. How so?
we disagree, or we agree to disagree,
Okay.
and like move on really well.
Nice.
But I don't, except in house shopping. I just
Well, there's your big thing, I guess.
I just stay low key mad at him, but it's not creating like it's
Friction.
just like, what are we doing?
Right.
I don't really care what we're doing. Just can we decide what we're doing? That's it.
And it brings out your practical, logical, ordinal side.
It does. Like it get real masculine real fast. Like 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, this budget. Boom.
Let's go. On 2.5 acres. Come on.
Oh my gosh, that house is gorgeous. Okay, I digress. It's mostly the 2.5 acres and it was tree surrounded. We both agreed on that house. That house did not agree with our budget.
All right, crew.
People, get it for me right now. Yeah, but most everything that we've disagreed on, we've simply agreed to disagree. Kept it moving. I heard my front door. I'm assuming it is the children gathering things because I don't see people on my sidewalk who don't live here anymore.
That's good.
They're
So what fun asks were you up to this week?
Grazie. Yeah. I don't remember having any. I'm sure there were, but I don't remember having any. I am still in this, I'm still playing with that whole when someone asks something of you that I'm not really interested in or willing to give, but that person's really important to me. So like, how do we navigate that ask? What
are you coming up with for yourself?
all kinds of stuff. So this is not a simplistic ask, y'all. This is a a couple of requests that my daughter has made, and one of them is really, like, I get it. I actually get her perspective, and I want to honor it, but it actually requires effort on my part to honor it. Like, it's not something that is it's almost as if she's asking me to be someone different.
Oh.
And I want to be that for her because she's my daughter and I love her, and I actually think that this would be a healthy thing for her to experience. And I'm still like, but it's a reflex to be this way.
Huh.
So essentially, like, the bottom line of it is that she's asking for growth for me, and I'm just like, but I don't want to grow.
I'm doing growth all the time.
I do growth all the time. I want to be petty in this space right here. just, just this one little space right here.
So, because obviously details are missing and so we're speaking somewhat ambiguously, is it the kind of scenario where it's either a concrete yes or a concrete no?
Not that one.
So
this one's more, so I'm watching the show This Is Us.
Things about that. I have never seen it.
I get why people are in love with it. It's a really good relationship show, and I'm a relationship person, so it's my jam.
Right.
But so one of the main characters has had challenges with her weight, like, her entire life since she was a child, like 8 years old, probably younger. And so it would be like asking her mom not to comment on her weight when it would take effort for the mom to do that, right? Like, she would have to think before she spoke, sort of thing.
Okay.
I'm a Sagittarius, no filter, who loves to talk. So now I gotta be like, oh, we're on this topic. Where are the nice things? Where are the nice things that I can say in this particular topic? And the other thing to that is I have stuck with the nice things in that particular topic for a very long time. And so when I do, it's kind of like you exploding. I just kind of, and then I'm like, oh wait, I apologize. You asked me not to do that and I did it. Oops. So, not doing that, like having words that I can say ahead of time, is one of the ways that I plan on addressing this particular thing that aren't petty.
I keep thinking I need to go back and catch up on some of my reading in the Judgment Detox. I don't know about you.
Oh man, so super judgy. And I don't have a problem with me being judgy in that particular area, which is why I'm like, she's asking me to grow.
Yeah. Well, is it serving you to stay petty?
I don't know, maybe. So because I am wisdom and giggles on a mission to bring lights to dark places in the world, because I am so naturally like light and bubbly and blah, 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 I know that when I'm hanging on to a darkness, it's typically a sense of protection.
Okay.
I left a relationship 6 years ago, and I purposefully stayed mad at him so that I wouldn't go back into that experience.
Huh. Okay.
It wasn't so bad on a daily basis that that alone would have kept me out.
Mm-hmm.
But I am such a loving, forgiving, seeing the best in people person that I wanted to be sure that a well-placed apology wasn't going to make me go back into that space.
Right.
Um, I don't know if that's the case here
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or if I'm just.
So what does your gut say? Where's that or Is it just that you're trying to hold on to the mat to protect yourself? Answer me now, yes or no.
No.
Okay, what about from your gut?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Does that give you a little more clarity on it?
A little bit.
Okay.
So there's this, we're doing the Prosperity Rising thing that starts next week.
Mm-hmm.
And preparing for that, actually, I think that came out of me sharing that video with IA and Edwin.
Are we talking about the same thing? Don't you have something starting on the 7th?
Yeah, I was wrong about the date. It's the 8th. But yes, Creator Collective. Yeah, Creator Collective starts on the 8th. Okay. Prosperity Rising starts on the 1st.
Got it. Okay.
And so I shared this video with IA of Edwina Gaines, who is a spiritual teacher. She's a Unity. I'm not sure she's a Unity minister or not, but she is a spiritual teacher. She teaches in Unity churches. And she wrote the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. And one of those laws is forgiveness. And she talked about, I love her stories. They're the best stories. She talked about how in this particular experience of her practicing forgiveness, one of her ex-husbands came to mind. That was hilarious. One of her ex-husbands came to mind, and she just spent like 30 minutes speaking blessings over him and wishing him the best and wishing him prosperity and abundance and all of these things that I am not yet ready to wish on my ex-husband, I will be honest. And so she said she did that for about 30 minutes until she didn't feel like she needed to go on anymore. And then she went on about her life. And not long after that, she received a letter in the mail from him, basically reiterating her prayer to her, thanking her for all of the ways that she was pivotal in his growth and prosperity and blah, blah, blah. And there was a check there for $3,000. She said, I pray for him every week now. And it did like open that door of like, I should probably offer this person some forgiveness. That's as far as I got with it. I haven't put that idea into practice yet, but
at least you're having the thought that you could.
I will. I know that I will, because I know me and I know my crew, and they are not a subtle bunch.
Right.
And I do remember that relationship that ended 6 years ago. I remember when I started praying for him, praying to forgive him. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those, I don't want to forgive him, so I need you to forgive him for me prayers. Like that was literally my prayer. I don't like him. I want him plagued like in the Old Testament of the Bible. I want nothing good for him, so I need you to work on my behalf. It was 2 weeks of praying that prayer morning and evening before I opened my mouth and I said, I thank you that I forgive. And I was like, ooh, I forgive, yay.
That being willing, and when you're unwilling, to even ask the way you did. I can't do it right now, and I'm clear about that. So I need you to do it on my behalf. If we're at a point where we're unwilling to do even that, there will be a giant, big ass stuckness.
Oh yeah.
And I have a friend who's in that space.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, and it's bad, and it starts to, you don't realize it, but it begins to permeate everything you do.
Yeah.
So asking for forgiveness when you've wronged someone else, but also asking for the capacity to forgive. And I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is it's a little bit like when we take a situation and we try to find the good in it. The extreme gratitude, what's the lesson in it that we've talked about in the past? We're not saying, okay, I was raped when I was 16, so what good came from that? I'm not saying that the rape was good. What did I learn from it? Who did I become that is strong because of it? That's the silver lining, but the silver lining doesn't erase the heinousness of the event.
Right.
So in that same way, forgiving someone doesn't mean you're saying, and I'm okay with the fact that you dipped your wick in 13 other chicks. You know, it's not condoning the what happened.
Right.
I think for a lot of people that have crossed my path, that's the people who are unwilling to forgive, not just in this moment and right now I can't, so will you help, take care of this for me till I'm there? But the people who are unwilling in that moment, at least, I always see a huge block, first of all. But it is as though they think that by forgiving them, they're letting that person off the hook.
Right. Probably the biggest lesson from the book, the movie, The Shack is.
I haven't seen that yet. I need to.
Okay. Did you read the book?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'll run down the story for those who haven't without ruining it for you. So this guy experiences this tragedy. Then he goes back to the place where the tragedy took place, and he has a supernatural experience with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Wonderful stuff. And my favorite part is that God is a Black woman. Anyway, so Jesus tells him that just because you forgive the person, and probably in human terms, this person did one of the most unspeakable things that can be done. And now you're asking me to forgive them? Jesus, you're asking for a lot here.
Right.
Jesus says to him, just because you forgive this person does not mean that you then go have lunch with them.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving them does not mean inviting them back into your world or back into your space. It just means freeing yourself of the pain, the misery, the hurt, the debt. If you have debt that you can't get rid of, chances are you probably have some forgiving to do.
Oh, now there's an interesting conversation.
Courtesy of Michael Beckwith and Edwin Gaines.
Interesting conversation. Probably a conversation for a different day. And
yeah.
But I think that's the big thing when you're forgiving. And when you're asking for forgiveness, if we flip it around, since we're talking about asking. If we ask for forgiveness, are we attached to them then welcoming us back into their life? Because they may not.
It's a good question. And that's a good thing to think about when we are asking others for forgiveness.
Yeah. Am I attached to their response? Am I attached to them saying they forgive me? Am I attached to them saying, I forgive you, but I don't want you in my life anymore? Are we attached to what's the response we're going to get?
I remember having sort of the flip of that experience
Uh-huh.
where I realized that I had been wrong a few years before. And I reached out to this person that was no longer in my life. I apologized. I wrote them a letter apologizing because we weren't communicating. So I just reached out on social media and said, "Can I have your address?" And then I wrote them a letter. And their response was wanting to rekindle the friendship. "Oh no, I don't need you in my world. I just wanted to apologize for being wrong because I was wrong." And it was an after apology because at the time I was doing the best that I could with what I had. The apology came out of watching two coworkers go through what me and that friend had gone through, where I didn't ghost her, but I pulled all of my energy back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when she would reach out, my responses would be curt, matter of fact, and to the point. If it was a yes or no question, it was a yes or no answer. There was no explanation. There was no, "How's it going? How's your world? How's your life?" I did always ask about her kiddos because they're kiddos. But other than that, I need to know. I don't want to know. I don't really care. Um, and so watching these people go through this and hearing the one person's misery around not understanding why the other person was treating him that way, I was like, ooh, I was that. Okay, let me go back and apologize and maybe offer some peace.
Well, and I'm sure that there's more to the story than that. Uh, but you're also assuming that that person that you were in relationship with, friendship, whatever, would take, because I have some friends who, if I am not yes or no, and I go into they're like, I just need the yes or no.
Oh, we had the kind of relationship where she could walk into my house, walk into my kitchen and get food, and it was like we were that close at one point. So going from that close, and it was like that for me.
Got it.
Like something happened and I was just literally the very next day,
So
or
dead to me.
yeah, the very next interaction with her was yes, no, okay, thanks, that's it. So we went from explanations and yeah, unnecessary conversation to answers and questions only.
I'm only dealing with you because I absolutely have to right now.
Right.
Got it.
And it was more, I don't know what to do with you, and I'm not prepared to kick you out of my life, so I'm going to put you in a box.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and she expressed to me later that that was painful to her, but I still wasn't in a place where I was like, I apologize. I was just like, well, it happens.
Ah.
So then when I saw it up close and personal and I got to hear this person's pain and how upset they were, and those two people were not even as close as she and I had been, I was like, oh, I owe you an apology.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's again that, will someone see an apology as an olive branch?
Right.
Am I sending this olive branch to mend the fences? Boy, all sorts of little idioms coming out there. But or is it simply, I need to apologize for my behavior because that was jackassish and you deserved better. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Absolutely.
How many of us would take that as, oh, we're rekindling our friendship? I probably would.
Yeah. I had to be very clear that that was not what that was.
Yeah.
And I extended those words with compassion. And I hope that she received them that way, but there's nothing I can do about how she received it, only about what I said and how I said it.
Well, and in that instance, I think even before going back to someone, it's a great place to do some meditating and inner work and journaling and whatever format you use for that. Is going back to that person the right thing to do for them?
Oh, that's a good question.
Am I only doing it for me because, oh gosh, I feel like I need to apologize? But if I'm going to come back and apologize, and then I'm going to say, yeah, no, you misunderstand me. No, I don't want to be your friend, but I'm apologizing to you. I'd be like, really, bitch? Why the fuck you even bring this shit up? I don't care how compassionate you are in your delivery. It would leave me at the very least confused as to what that just was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Um,
so I think I love the fact that you're like, you know what? I recognize that was kind of that was a bitch move. I need to apologize to you.
yeah.
And at the same time, it's a great thing to look at when, I think of the people who go through the amends step of the 12-step process. When they do that, when you're apologizing, who is that for? Is that for the person you're making the amends with? Was that for her that you apologized, or was that for you that you apologized?
I meant it for her, but maybe it was for me. Because, yeah, she wanted more, and I was just like, nah. But I was also, my no was also because she wanted more than I was capable of giving. Like, there's nuances to this
Sure.
that I'm not putting in the video, but she wanted more than I was capable of giving, and rekindling a friendship with her would have been more than rekindling a friendship with her.
Right.
And so there are some boundaries that have to stay in place.
Yeah.
And rekindling a friendship with her would have made that difficult, if not impossible. And so it's better for all parties involved, or maybe it's just better for my sanity.
That's an okay thing to know, right?
It might be better for keeping one or the both of us out of jail. I don't know.
And so that's when her ask to come back in was a firm and solid and clear no from you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So sometimes we get to respond with a no to someone's ask.
And that's really interesting. So I think that probably my answer to everything is really knowing yourself. This is probably being channeled because I just looked around like, what just came out of my mouth?
Knowing yourself and trusting yourself.
Yes.
Valuing yourself. Because if you know yourself, but you don't value yourself yet, or if you know yourself, but you don't trust the decisions you make, the yeses and nos.
Yeah.
But that value and that trust tend to come with the knowing. If you truly know yourself.
Yeah. So I think it's the answer to everything, but it's definitely the answer to whether or not I say yes or no to this ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if someone else is asking something of me that is counter to what I want to do, then I get to look at, is it counter to my values? Is it just counter to my ego?
Yes. I just led a 4-week workshop, and one of the big pieces we talked about is saying yes to everything. Whether it's because you're a people pleaser, whether it's because you have shiny object syndrome, whatever that is, and where that doesn't serve us to do, and it really doesn't serve the people we're saying yes to if we're saying yes to everyone and everything. And it's about
So
the
true.
knowing ourselves. And we talked about how do we bring that back to the very first step is knowing your values and knowing your priorities, because those are your benchmark. Whether it's that somebody wants you to get involved in this amazing organization that, helps feed the world and rescue puppies, and it's like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing, and they're doing all this stuff locally, and they're a global thing, and I want to get involved. But I'm already only getting 5 hours of sleep, and I'm working 12-hour days, and I've got 15 children to take care of, and my adrenals are burned out, but I want to say yes anyway. Well,
Right.
what did I say my values are? Family, health, and connection. So does it give me more time with my family? Does it support that value? Because it takes time away, actually. Does it support my value of health? Well, no, because now I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep a night. So it doesn't support the value of health. Plus, I'm probably going to have to axe out my gym time because I'm going to have to go to these meetings. So no, it doesn't support. It's our checks and balances. Knowing yourself, knowing your values and your priorities, and using them as a benchmark so that you can guilt-free say no when it will serve you. There's my box. I'll put it away now.
Yeah. That feels like a juicy place to pause till the next conversation.
I think so.
But I would like to hear from the peanut gallery. What do you do when people make asks of you, and you want to say no? Like, how do you decide when you say no? And how do you decide when you say yes, even when you want to say no?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes there are those times,
Mm-hmm.
like with my dear sweet princess daughter.
How can you create a win-win-win with that one?
Yes, yeah. I think the answer is I just ship her off to Korea because that's where she really wants to be. She's obsessed with Korea and all things Korean.
Okay.
Teaching herself Korean.
Tell her to find some Byeondegi and try that, and then see how she feels about being Korean.
We're gonna end there, people.
Go Google it, folks. Tell me what you think.